Hi everyone, this is Mari Craig, and you're listening to the Small Steps to Wellness show, a podcast where we discuss how we can achieve more wellness in our lives one small step at a time. For the past 6 odd years, I've taken a special interest in nutrition and I've changed the diet of my family on its head. But as I've dived deeper into the world of nutrition, I have learned that health is so much more than just what we put on our plate. This is why on this podcast we will be talking nutrition, mental health, being in alignment, holistic health care, self care, raising children, and more. We will also be hearing stories of women's journeys to overcome trauma and what it has taught them on the way. When we share our stories, we realize we are not alone and that things can change for the better. I'm so glad to have you with me on this journey as I explore what health and wellness truly encompass. If you like what you're hearing, please consider rating the show with a 5-star rating and sharing it with your friends. It really makes a big difference. Now, on with today's show.
Hello and welcome to the Small Steps to Wellness show with me, your host, Mari Craig, where we are discussing how we can achieve more wellness in our lives one small step at a time. I've got my good friend Miriam Stener back with me today, and I just wanted to give you all a quick introduction to who she is, because she is, I knew her way back when, gosh, I think it's 20 years good now that we first met, and we studied politics together in German, but she's actually a poet and she's an expert in the field of energetics and metaphysics. Her strength is to help you feel safe while you go on your own energetic journey towards coming back to wholeness and who you truly are. So in other words, she's an amazing coach. It is said that diamonds are born in the dark, and Miriam is here to support you in your journey towards activating your energy system and the juicy crystals inside of you so that you are ready to shine your brilliant light into this world. Another thing that Miriam does is help you with publishing your own book, because if you have a story to share, you might be sort of holding it back out of fear, perhaps. Miriam is your coach in daring to publish your book, and she is also a coach working with energetically aligned book launches. Miriam was born in Norway, so she's from the same country as me, and she grew up surrounded by beautiful nature. As a child, she used to dance to the 4 elements, and as an adult, she is passionate about teaching how to create in alignment with nature's 4 elements. Miriam's Viking alias is the soul warrior. Oh, she's already laughing at that because she's ready to fight with her heart for your soul to be heard. It's beautiful, it's beautiful, it's beautiful. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, thank
It's
you.
your own bio making you laugh.
Yeah, I wrote the Viking thing last week, and that was after finishing watching the Viking series, right? And I got really inspiration from that. And truly, if you look at the Vikings, I think what makes it laugh is that they sometimes I feel they knew something that we have forgotten, but it's slowly coming back into society, although in another form, right? And that is especially, I went to northern England just weeks ago, like Northumbria, and the Vikings are coming to Northumbria, and I want to take the land. But anyway, what they had in their battles is, if you look at the wholeness aspect of it, they had the physical strength. They knew like they had to really be strong in their body. They also had the mental strength, like really, in order to sort of win the battle, you need to have a good structure as well, right? But they also had the spiritual part, the soul part. For them, it was the Arthur gods, Thor, Freya. It was also their connection to nature, and it was also the belief that if they died there on the battlefield, they will go to Valhalla. So I don't think they were so afraid of dying because it was for good purpose. And so that is sort of the Viking inspiration that I feel, is that we lack sometimes that spiritual part of us. Like really, what's the purpose? What am I really here to fight for? And fighting is not necessarily that we have war, but that we have something really that we feel, I'm here to do this, and no matter what, this is my mission. And yeah.
I'm still looking for that mission for myself, but part of it is definitely to have conversations like what we're about to have today, because I think we spoke a little bit about this before we hit record, about the importance of being able to share views, not necessarily agree with each other, but give each other space to talk about what's important to us. Maybe agree, maybe disagree, but still be able to have proper conversations instead of just going down into the trenches and not listen to each other. I think that's such a biggie.
Yeah, it's so true. And it's also this, if I come from my heart space and say, listen, this is what I believe is the truth. It's okay if you disagree, but please allow me to speak my truth. And also, if you come from that space that you say, where you don't have to convince other people to accept and take over your truth, because we can, each one of us, have our own sort of relative truth. But also, I think, you know, as we also spoke a little bit like the last years, when there was so much fear of, you know, you could trigger people just by standing in your own truth and making your own health choices for your body. And I think that sort of shocked some of us as well, you know, like, how can that be dangerous? But I think also it all comes back into really when we understand who we truly are and what I'm here for and what does my soul like to do, you know, and accept others in their journey is,
yeah, no, that is so true. When you really I guess value your own views and respect that you have your own views, and realize also this matters to me, I'm not going to change my mind. I think it's important, as long as we don't harm anyone else with our choices. I think it's important to also respect, I might do one thing, you might do something else, and we might not be able to understand each other, but that's okay. But listen, what's going on in your world at the moment? What's important to you? What do you work with? What do you see with your clients? Is there anything that you can share with us about what's going on with you that we might be able to learn from?
Yeah, so here's the fascinating part, that I think last time I was here, it was all about the trauma and everything. And I feel last year was a lot of people collectively actually daring to face their own traumas and dealing with them. But where I am right now is that next step, because you can also get, you know, you can create your own identity out of trauma. It's like, yeah, I feel this miserable because of all this trauma happened to me. And you can sort of, yeah, and I'm just going to do some more trauma work and some more trauma work. And you can dig yourself even into the grave of the trauma work. Not to say that you shouldn't deal with your things, but what comes next? And what I see is that when you release something, you got to fill it with something. And we are sort of used to feeling safe in what is familiar. So if you step out of that identity of this happened to me and that therefore I feel this, and you replace it with some sort of, you could say it's unknown territory because you haven't been there before, but it's actually who you came here to be, and that is living your gifts. That is truly standing in your own truth and doing the things that excites you, gives you satisfaction, that right. And that is where I am right now, really helping people see their own, you can say beauty in a way, because I find it very beautiful to watch. I got to witness a client earlier today as well. Truly is like, wow, do I have all of this inside of me? Can I be this? Can I actually live this? And sometimes you need to even see that and experience that frequency, because it's all energetics also. Yeah, so that is what I love doing right now. I also love, like, I always loved the 4 elements, and that thing is coming back even more and more because we are in this major shift right now. And the 4 elements are actually the foundation of all creation, of everything ever created. And the 5th element, that some call ether, that is love. This is actually also how we manifest, how we are creating. And yeah, so I'm all into that as well. And I can go really high on this, you know, it's all consciousnesses. And some are familiar with Atlantis and Lemuria. That one is also in my mind right now, because I see sort of energetically that we are in this shift of really coming back into the original of who we were before all of this out of alignment creative things going on the last thousands of years. So it's exciting, I feel, energetically right now. We are living in very, very exciting times.
It's funny that you say exciting, because I think a lot of people would say, gosh, it's just complete chaos at the moment. It's complete carnage. Like, what on earth is going on in the world? There is so much.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the stuff we've been told is the truth may not be the truth.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And it's just, it's hard to kind of, I think it's easy to get really quite overwhelmed. I keep coming back to this word overwhelmed, because I mean, I guess it might be similar for you with children at school age. There's a lot of pressure on them, and I'm kind of in the middle of thinking, God, that whole schooling thing is so messed up.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure that I believe in the way it's done anymore. That's a whole other podcast though, isn't it?
Yeah. I'd love to come on that as well, because
Yeah,
I sort of agree with you. Yeah, because we have built structures for our children that doesn't match their energetical true nature, their soul actually. So it's based on things that might have worked before, but it doesn't work with the new time children. So maybe it didn't work with us, but so but what I feel is actually when it can appear as chaos outside, that's when you also really might want to realize that you can always come back to your own soul, your own spirit, you know, and you can have chaos outside, but you don't have to have that inside of you. And that is each and every one of us responsibility, actually, is as you know, sometimes previously a lot of us have given away our power trying to help other people, or there were the other people who just wanted to have other people's things or energies or whatever. But right now we are shifting into each and every one of us got to take full responsibility for their own, and in that is also comes freedom. Because if I have the freedom and right to choose for myself, I'm also allowing others the freedom and right to choose for them. And yeah.
We could go really quite sort of abstract about it, but you can also go into the whole taking responsibility for ourselves. I think is both scary and empowering.
Yeah.
I obviously, as you know, very much into good food and nutrition in order to fuel our bodies the right way. And I think also that we are at a stage where we have to realize that it's down to us to really stay healthy. We cannot wait for for an ambulance to come pick us up if that's what needed. We need to actually make sure that we do whatever is in our power.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that we'll be bulletproof, but I think whatever's in our power to stay healthy. And whilst my focus is mainly on the food side, I think you are so spot on when it comes to also taking responsibility for how you feel on the inside, so that though there might be chaos on the outside, inside you can just go, I'm fine. I'm fine. Deep breaths. I am fine.
Yes, and also this when you are cleaning up your own house and you take out all the things that you have and it looks really chaotic, right? That's where we are right now. It's when we have taken out all of the things and it looks like it's chaos, but they are coming back together in the right places. We're actually like cleaning up the things, and in that we also might throw away some of the things that we don't longer want to have. So it's and food and nutrition, that's also energy that affects our body, all frequencies in that way. Yeah,
it's like a decluttering session, isn't it?
But that's the chaos. It's a decluttering process going on right now.
I think you're right. I was talking to somebody the other day and we were talking about how actually what we're coming back to, certainly some of us now, is kind of like going back to our roots or going a bit retro again. And kind of, I think we've forgotten a lot of what was good about the good old days. And now I think I certainly have been on a massive journey when it comes to what does health mean to me. I haven't understood the importance of a lot of the things that I guess our grandparents found important. And now I feel like more and more of us are becoming more open to appreciating that maybe all is not what it seems. There are things that I would have gonna laughed at years ago that I now realize, gosh, it's really got its place.
Yeah.
Do you sometimes feel when you get new coaching clients that they're a bit like, oh my gosh, what am I getting myself into? What is she talking about? And then at the end they go, oh, wow, this was amazing.
Yeah, and the thing is that when I work, I always sort of have faith in the energy to do the work. So I always do sort of this intro way of just letting the energy work. But it's always fascinating. Like if I have, let's say, past life regressions, they've changed as well, you know, from being trauma focused into really going back and seeing all of these strengths. But you know, I never know where we're going. It might come someone who has no, you know, but always I sit with this feeling of, yeah, we're going exactly where we're gonna go. It's gonna sort itself out. And like it's so many times when people actually have said, like, in the end, like, wow, you know, what was this all about? And you know, you cannot even explain it because it's energetics, and we might not be so used to that way of working also, because it's in a different field, you could say, but it's you don't always have the words for what you're feeling. It's like with the feeling of love, you know, you feel this love for your children and you don't know, wow, what is this energy? It's energy, right? So
It's really important what you're talking about. So basically we are getting we are diving deep into our trauma, but then we get to a point where like, okay, so I've done that, now what do I do? And that's I guess where you come in now, because you can sit with I guess it's easy maybe if you're doing a lot of work on what's happened to you, that you become a bit of a victim and that you go, this happened to me. And then it's allowed to feel like, well, that was a bit shit.
Yeah, but it's so much, right, there's so much strength in it. And it's also this, you know, the way we meet other people who's been through things that you might like say, this is actually very horrible, or it's wow. But it's also, it's the strength to have survived something like that, whatever it is. And that can be different in each and every one of us. You know, in, let's say, Gene Keys, which are also some of the things that I work with, they speak about these sacred wounds, and that also how these sacred wounds are helping us to awaken. So in that way, like how you could say how it used to be, is sometimes it is the traumatic incidences that actually are stepping stones towards you actually awaken and finally realizing, who am I? Or just saying, enough is enough, I'm not doing this anymore, I'm not this person anymore. And in that, allow you to really become who you truly are. But that is also a transition, because it's in every transition there is something you are letting go of, which can create some sort of grief or sadness and feeling of loss, because you are giving away something, but actually you're stepping into something new. And in that process, it's also easy to feel that you might want to go back to the old thing because it's safe, it's what I know. It might not be what's healthy, but it's what I know. And this is the unknown. I've never been there before, right? Never been in the future or where I am right now. And but the more you can also, I think compassion is also the word. Allow yourself to also understand that in every transition there is also like step forward and step back, and also but it's also said that, you know, when there is fully love also loves the shadow parts, you know, love all of it, and to really allow yourself to love even the parts of yourself that might not feel so beautiful, and see the strength in even, oh, I remember that time I played a victim, that was fascinating, right? But I also remember how strong it made me feel. And also when we meet other people, you know, when I tell some of my stories, people tend to go, oh, poor you know, oh, that is so, that's, well, you know, and you tend to get that you are a victim thrown back at you from other people as well. And I think we also need to be aware of our responses, like how we respond to people telling their stories, because we can also respond in powerful ways. like, wow, you must be really strong. You managed to take yourself out of that in a way. Like, really, that is also something I think a lot of people might tend to forget. Because if the horrible things happened to me did not happen, I don't know if I would have published a poetry book, or if I would have started writing poetry, or if I would be the coach that I am today. Really, it's just something that happened. It doesn't define who I am.
I was just going to say that it doesn't define who you are. So
no,
with this whole doing all the trauma work is really important. But then sometimes I guess that's what you do, help people then move from that to now, where do we go from here?
yeah.
And it's really interesting what you said about the self-preservation or staying with what's familiar, even though that might not be the healthy option. That's basically your body and your soul and everything trying to protect you, isn't it? Because we know what we've got, but we don't know what we're getting. So it's kind of like, I've had this conversation with one of my daughters about, there might be one voice saying, this is going to be great for you. Let's do this, let's make this change. And then one voice saying, no, that's going to be horrible. Yeah. And both of those voices speak from love. They want you to feel safe, to feel loved, to feel great. But you have to understand that actually it means the same thing. So getting them together and then listening to the one that says, no, stick with what's familiar, with what's safe. And the one saying, let's make the move. They all want the same for you.
Yeah, and it's the hypothalamus in the brain that one mission is like the ancient brain who's like, yeah, this is you haven't died from this, so let's stay here, because you will not die. But so it's actually what you say is very important, and that also to understand other people might not want you to change because they feel the same way in them, right? So sometimes we are unaware of that we also can hold people back. So
that's really interesting. Do you sometimes have clients who might experience great changes and then their partner is like, who the hell am I married to now?
Yeah, I had that in my own marriage as well.
I was gonna say, what is your experience?
My husband feels like he's been married to, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 different women. So it's
exciting.
Yeah, it is. It's never boring for him. No, I'm in this. No, I'm in the shine your light sort of phase of my life.
But it's a good point though, because you can't also stop doing the work for you just because it might trigger other people.
No,
right?
Mari, this is so true, because it's like with flowers. If you know gardening and you plant a seed, and that seed you plant in some sort of soil that are not so nutritional, but it's because if it's too much, the seed will not want to come up. But then once the seed has come up, it started to be like this little mini plant. Then you want to plant it into other soil, like maybe and larger. I don't know. Pots. And then sometimes this plant thrive when it stands close to other pots with the same thing in it. And maybe it grows even more, but at one point it stops growing. You're like, oh, what's happening here? It's because it needs an even larger pot. And I think it's the same with us. So sometimes we even need to change our environment, or also like the nutrition. We might want to eat differently, or we might want to meet other people. We might want to do another hobby, something, right? It's all part of growing and allowing yourself to grow, and also part of not stopping other people from growing. And they might still be in the seed phase, and you might be like this whole giant oak tree already. So it's all good. I think we're exactly where we're meant to be. And
I think, but then we start comparing, don't we? And then thinking, oh, I should be doing, because he or she and whoever they are doing that.
And that's like, if you go to nature, I think like nature is such a good experience. It's such a good, oh my God, finding the words today, Mari. Like the flowers is the quote that a flower doesn't compare itself to the flower next to it. It just blooms, right? And we can be different flowers. We're here for different reasons, right? Some of us are also, some are very physical and very related to, like, it could be engineering, it could be like playing sports or everything that has to do with the physical world or something. And then comes me being all interested in energetics and the esoteric and what's on the inside and how that creates something on the outside and everything. And then comes you being interested in the nutritional part, like how can I nurture and feed my body the good stuff, it's all, and it doesn't mean that I am right and you are wrong, we're just different flowers blooming at different seasons, and sometimes we're in the winter, sometimes we're in the summer, but you also, I think, allow ourselves and have compassion that we are also cyclical beings. We are we have like with the moon cycles as well. Today I'm actually in my winter season, so, and then to allow myself to not be so hard on myself, and yeah, it's
Don't you think that the sooner our children are able to understand this,
mm-hmm.
the sooner they'll be better in themselves growing up?
Yes. Yeah, I feel that so much. It's like, yeah, because also having my own, I have 3 children, and they are also very different, but at the same time, they are also very self-aware of who they are. And yeah.
I feel like we're trying to stuff our children into one, cookie cutter, as my lovely coach Lindsay says. Yeah, it's one cookie cutter, but actually that might be a square cookie cutter, and that doesn't fit.
Yeah,
half
and
of us.
yeah, right. And also to allow them to have their own experiences, because what might be my traumas might not be a trauma for them at all,
Yeah, or the other way around, exactly. Yeah. And just understand that this might not be. I had this conversation again with one of my children the other day about something that really, really, really upset her, and it was a complete non-issue in my mind, but for her it was such a big deal. And I had to try to really work hard and to meet her where she was and understand where it was coming from, and then just see how she could work around it and find a solution so that she would be happy, because she felt like she was kind of sacrificing herself in order for others to be happy, and no one has done anything. It is just one of those things where this is what the feeling was, and how do we go about changing the situation so that you feel more at peace with how you function. So that was I want to drag a little bit of human design into this as well, because having 2 of my children being projectors, they also need, whether or not they appreciate it, understand it, they do need rest and time away and time to recharge. But I think being around people who are not projectors, they probably get an awful lot of energy, or they think they have energy from those people, and then they get completely worn out. So and when it's happening, because it's like when this like crying starts for absolutely no reason. Well, it is a reason, but it, like, on the outside it seems like, gosh, what's going on with you? So I think the more we can kind of help our children navigate the world that they're in, and understanding we are different, and that's to be celebrated. And yes, it might be that your friends are able to do X, Y, and Z and you're not, but you're also able to do these things and they're not, and that's all good.
And that's true, and that is also like learning your children to understand their own energy. And it's the same way. I can see I have one projector child, one manifesting generator, and one manifestor, and and they function differently as well, right? And then also I know my own energy, but also, even if I know the human design, there is even more to it, because what I also tend to see is that sometimes it can help us adults to understand our children, but also in that respecting and understanding that our children might come with something completely new that human design are not even aware of, right? But and also, if we follow like the cycles of the nature, we are in the middle of 2 eclipses, and what I see is that affecting a lot of people, and some people are not affected at all, which is also very fascinating, right? is because we are also responding to nature differently. And it could be like, for me, I think it was, I don't know, a couple of days ago, I really had this like, oh, you know, this energy of like nothing was working. Like, and I had slept badly. I didn't have enough sleep that night. And then it was like, what is this? And on those days, you know, it's like, it's so, I think, to have compassion for yourself, that it's okay to have those days as well, you know, like, oh my God, nothing is going my way. And the thing was, the day before I had this, everything was in a flow. I was like, oh, I'm on top of the world, you know, I'm doing really good. Like, really, it's like, yeah, it's finally happening. And then the next day it's like, no, it wasn't.
And then automatically we think it's ourselves, there's something wrong with us, right?
Yeah, but
it's just ebbs and flows. Yeah,
just ebbs and flows, and just also to be aware that some of us are more like sensitive to even what is in the collective, what is in nature, what is in, you know. And there's nothing wrong with that, because I think what's wrong is to feel, I think there is like this spiritual thinking that we should be happy all the time, but honestly I feel it's more that we should be true to our own nature. And it's the same, that I don't think like nature when it's in winter, or when it has its most horrific expression, that is like, oh, I'm not so good today, you know, I'm doing the windy thing today, you know, or today I'm doing the rain, no one must like me, you know. It's when we can be so like unapologetically in our own nature, like nature are. I feel that we also might come to more happiness and wellness inside of us. It's like, yeah, today I am the sun shining and everyone will feel love around me. But tomorrow I might be a hurricane, or I might be an explosion or a volcano, just wanting to to burn everything down, and it's okay, right?
yeah, tell me when that happens. I was finding we're in different countries, it's all good, it's all good.
Yeah, you want to know when I'm the volcano or I'm the sun now?
I'll just watch from afar. It will be interesting to watch anyway. No, do you know, I think this, I really like listening to this, and I can just imagine that the clients who work with you, and I'd like to put in the show notes, by the way, how people can work with you, because you do things over Zoom and things, don't you? So it doesn't have to be face to face, because I think the sooner we realize that all of this just means I am,
basically,
the better, right?
I am, and I am different expressions, and it's just, yeah, whatever is. And that is really what I love helping people with, is they're coming back to their true nature, whether that means being sunny 50% of the time or rainy 50%, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that it feels true to you. And when you can see that shift in other people, because it's all energy, right? It's this. I don't know, the book, The Picture of Dorian Gray. Yeah, that one has really come to me like lately, because that's what I feel happening in society, in this shift. And that is, and for those who hasn't, is this, maybe I'm telling the story wrong, but it's this guy, very, very beautiful, and someone painted a painting of him. But every time he does something that isn't really high frequency out of love, like real horrible stuff, the picture gets a bit uglier, like on the outside surface in the picture. And eventually this picture becomes so like ugly that he doesn't want to even have anyone seeing this picture. So he hides it in the attic. Is it attic?
Attic, yeah.
Attic, yeah. But he keeps on like looking the same. So and I think that is also for us, if we base our like, what's my true self, based on how I look or how I appear to be, instead of actually going and thinking, what is my energy? Because we all radiate energy, no matter how we look, you know. It's just clothes, or it can be makeup, no makeup, but our energy never lies. And our energy is our picture of Dorian Gray, and it can look whatever it is. And sometimes we can even be afraid of our own energy. But we can always take full responsibility for it, and come back into another frequency. But that is the work that we need to do. And sometimes if we have had this ugly picture hanging, and hard to say for a long time, and that can be like feeling of the victims, or on the other side, feeling that I was the one causing this person to feel like a victim, and so on and so on. We can get like trapped and want to hide away. But the moment we take out our own image and we start to sort of, we can always repaint it, you know. We can also always say, okay, this is who I used to be. Now I'm choosing something else for myself. Now I really want to know, what can I be? What am I capable of if I live from the highest frequency of my own gifts? And yeah, I don't know if that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. And just understanding that you can choose differently.
Yeah. Yes.
No matter your situation, you can choose differently. Is this what I want to believe about myself, or do I want to believe that I am this person?
Yeah, right. Yeah. And so to work, maybe we can work over Zoom. Also, I'm going to have retreats. Actually, we've invited to have a retreat in Mallorca, where we get to work with the 4 elements, which is also basically different aspects of yourself. You know, it's fire is like really getting clear on your own soul, your spirit. What is the fire element in you telling you, and so on, and etc. It's the same with the planets. That I also find very interesting. Yeah, and I do human design readings, but you know, actually I do everything in my own way. so yeah, and listening to the energies mainly what I'm doing. Yeah, and it's the same with the books. I'm writing on new stuff that will come out. Yeah, where I write more about this energetic stuff that I feel.
I think it's definitely something that I would want to explore further, because just understanding that it's all perfect, it's all the way it's meant to be.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I think what a lot of us also we might want anything, but it's that feeling of, in order to have a value, you need to do something. Sometimes it's also good enough to just be and do nothing, right?
Yeah, we don't need to produce all the time.
No, the pauses are just as important as what we do.
I love this. Listen, you've got to pick up kids from school, don't you?
I do.
Yeah.
Speaking about school, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It never stops, does it? It never stops. I thank you so much for just talking to me about this. I think so many of us, maybe it's the age we're in as well. We're in our 40s now. You're also in your 40s now.
Yeah.
Took you long enough.
Took
you long enough, but just maybe kind of not settling anymore. For mediocre. We're like, okay, no, this is not okay. I want really to thrive. And in order to thrive, I guess you have to do go back into the shadows, and then once you kind of been there and done that, then working towards, okay, what is there, what is there for me, and what do I believe about myself, what do I believe that I'm worth, and what do I believe that I can do, or who am I really. As I say, just a few years ago, all of this would have been completely woo-woo to me, and completely like, oh gosh, shut up. But actually, the more I dive into it, the more it makes so much sense, because even by dipping a toe into just working within your own, or working with your energies, the more I understand how it's benefiting me, and thereby benefiting those around me. Because we know when mummy's happy, everyone's happy, right?
Yeah. And here's the thing is just for everyone to take full responsibility for their own energy is going to make everyone happy, you know, to really know it's not my how to say ansvar,
responsibility.
It's not my responsibility to take care of your energy, you know. It's and also for us to teach our children that, I think is going to help them, because with that responsibility that we are taking, we also are seeing
I had exactly again this conversation with one of my children the other day, that it's not your responsibility to make other people happy. It's not my responsibility to make you happy. It's not daddy's responsibility to make me happy. It is our responsibility to be true to ourselves. To be a good version of ourselves so that we don't cause harm. And in doing that, potentially people around us will be happy, but it's not our responsibility to make other people happy, especially if that means that you're unhappy.
Yes, that's so true. And it is like, for me being a generator, when I say yes out of because I want to be nice, because I have the energy, that makes me unsatisfied, right? And that is the frequency that I don't think anyone benefits from. But when I say yes to the things that, oh, this is lighting me up, then that will also be felt, right? That is also an energy that will be felt. And yeah, so, and I think it's so fascinating. Like you could always change. Like we met when we were studying German and European knowledge. I remember writing about the French German thing in the European Monetary Union. It's a totally different, but it's still, even though if I didn't understand energy at that time, it's all, I think it's all part of our evolution. I wasn't supposed to understand it at that time either, but I'm supposed to understand it now. And because with every new understanding comes also new responsibilities, which is the
yeah, but it's true.
Yeah,
it is so true. It is so true. I've gone and I was supposed to let you go, but I've gone, you said about being a generator and say yes to things that actually don't light you up. As a projector, saying yes to an invitation that comes your way because you feel like, oh, I'm being invited, I must say yes. That can create resentment and bitterness when you actually then not being recognized for being the helpful person. Whereas when you're saying yes from a place of this feels right for me to say yes to, it's magical what happens then after. So it is it's so, and I've said that to my children as well, to my projector children. Even if you're being asked to do things or being invited, you are allowed to say no.
Yeah.
That doesn't make you unhelpful or unkind. You are allowed to say no. You have to really think about it. Does this feel right for me? And not from a selfish point of view, like, oh, I can't be bothered to help that person out. No. But this is really something that I feel like, yes, this feels good for me. So listening to that inner voice, I think is really, really, really useful. Really useful.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Yeah. I also tell my children that if they ask if they can bring friends home from school, and sometimes the energy says yes, and sometimes it says no, and they go, but why? And I'm like, I don't know. My energy is, I can't say why. Just to know. Tomorrow I might say yes, but it's also.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I might do that as well. Because I just say to them, look, I'm sorry, but I'm not the person that can have these things thrown at me last minute. I need to actually plan this in my head so that I know.
Yeah, I know my child is calling and so, Mom.
So right, you better pick up. Thank you so much, Miriam, for being on. You go and talk to your child. This has been so useful. We'll put everything in the show notes for how people can work with you. But thank you for having this conversation with me today. Take care. You've been listening to the Small Steps to Wellness show with Mari Craig. I am passionate about helping mums get their energy back through simple nutritional changes, because we know that if mummy is happy, the family's happy. If you would like to connect with me, you can find me on Instagram under @smallstepstowellness, or visit my website smallstepstowellness.info. Speak to you soon.